Hi, I'm Alicia Dietrich, and I'm in the Dean's Office in the College of Fine Arts. And I'm so excited to be here today with Professor Jason Wilkins in the Department of Design. And I'm so excited to get to introduce him to you, especially our new students in the Department of Design, and get to know a little bit more about you. Welcome, Jason.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about what you'll be teaching in the fall, or how students in the Department of Design might encounter you?
Sure. I'm going to be teaching Typography I, which is an introductory typography course. And then I'll also be teaching a class called Identity Systems, and that's also part of a sequence. And so this is a foundational class, and it'll be about logos and such. And then I'm also doing a couple, or at least one independent study officially, maybe two. And then I'll also be coordinating the sophomore reviews. So if you're a sophomore, I'll be in touch with those students, helping them get prepared for their first sort of official design review at the end of the fall semester with all the faculty.
So for new design students, what is a sophomore review? How does that work?
The students, when they're freshmen, they'll sort of have an introductory year to design classes. And this semester will be the first time that we send students through a very specific freshman design sequence, as opposed to a sequence that's also integrated with the art core classes. So it's a specific design sequence. And then when they enter in their sophomore, the first semester of their sophomore year, they take a bunch of sort of introductory but more specific design classes. At the end of that semester, their work from those specific classes is put on display as a way for them to get to know faculty and get feedback from faculty, that I guess as like a check-in to just make sure that you're sort of headed in the right path. You're still interested in design. You're at an inflection point where you can start to maybe focus in on what it is that you want to accomplish over the next few years. As we teach, there are all kinds of design that's taught in our program, whether that's graphic design or something that's more industrial design or interactive design in nature. It's a time just to sort of figure out what you want to do and communicate that to others in the department.
That's cool. Thanks for walking us through that.
Yeah.
So you've worked on design for two of the most recognizable brands in town, the University of Texas at Austin and KUTand KUTX. What is it like for you as a designer to go out in the world and see your work out in the world in such a visible way?
Yeah, it's really interesting. I would say the thing that I guess I feel the most is gratitude. I grew up as like a military kid, and so I had to move every 3 years or so. And when I finally got to decide where I wanted to move sort of on my own terms is when I came here to Austin. And so I feel like working on those projects for such, Austin Institute, local kind of landmark institutions, it makes me feel connected and like I'm contributing in some small way to my community. So I guess that's what I feel sort of most. It is surprising to see, I don't know, like the KUT logo projected and Leon Bridges is standing in front of it. Or we have this amazing kind of anti-racism training or like course going on right now that's sort of university-wide, and the individual who's giving that course over Zoom is standing in front of this backdrop with like the University of Texas logo sort of behind it. And I don't know, it just makes me reflect a little bit, but mostly immense gratitude.
That's amazing. So as we've all mostly been quarantined during the pandemic, how are you finding ways to stay creative? What's inspiring you creatively these days?
I think it was towards the end of last semester, I started like getting into coding, which I have avoided as like a designer for, well, I guess ever since I was interested in design, I sort of always avoided code, thinking that just wasn't the way my brain worked. And then something happened, and now it's like all I want to do. So I've just been kind of teaching myself that I probably spend more time being frustrated than anything, but I am just so excited to learn. And then actually also, uh, I one of the other things I like to do is play guitar, and I got this album by a guy named Lightin Hopkins, who's my favorite musician. And also, that's why I wear a hat, because I want to be like him one day. But I've just been trying to work up a bunch of his songs on guitar, and so um, that's kind of what's been occupying my time. A fun side note: the person who made this illustration is the person who made the "I Love New York" logo, who recently passed, named Milton Glazer. So anyways, side story.
What's something about you that would surprise your students or your colleagues?
That's interesting, because I feel like some of the things that would be sort of surprising, that like the fact that I like skateboard, and that's basically my main identity. I think a lot of students and faculty know that. But maybe a surprising thing would be that when I moved to Austin, I made my younger brother come with me. So I graduated college and he graduated high school, and I said, "You're coming with me to Austin." And he plays music, and he still lives here in Austin. And so anytime he plays, I tried to go to the shows. And if and so his band's called Hikes, and they formed a great little community here. And every time they play, even though their music isn't like hardcore, like a mosh pit always forms. So I guess the surprising thing would be that you can find me in that mosh pit.
So what would you like to tell the 20-year-old version of yourself in college?
That's a good one. I think I would say get in where you fit in. So as I said, I moved around a bunch, and I just sort of happened to be going to school at the University of Arkansas whenever I was in college. And it's small, it's kind of smaller, and it's Southern and whatnot. And I in some ways identify with a lot of that now, but when I was that age, I sort of didn't, and which is kind of why I ended up here in Austin. But that's all to say that if you sort of feel like you're not fitting in, find a place where you do, and that makes it a lot easier to kind of cultivate your interests and to find commonalities with other people. I actually started off in business school, and I was just like skateboarder in business school. I didn't really fit into the culture of business, and so that's whenever I started looking elsewhere, and that's when I found design. And so yeah, I would just say like maybe I was unconsciously thinking it, but I would be more explicit about just saying, yeah, like find your people and go there, and don't be afraid to do that.
Yeah, I think find your people is really great advice, actually.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for taking time to talk with me today. I really enjoyed getting to know more about you, and I know our students can't wait to see you when classes resume again in a few weeks here on campus.
Yeah, I can't wait to see them, and I can't wait to meet the new incoming students.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll see you soon.
Great.
Bye.
We'll see you. Bye.